Hi class, I'm here today to talk about periodicals and a lot of terms you're going to need to know. So there's a lot of vocabulary you need to know if you're going to do your project on a newsletter or any topic like that. So the first slide we want to go to, we'll talk about the difference between broadsheets and tabloids. If you look on the lower left, broadsheets, two examples of the Call and the Boston Globe, those a broadsheet, if you hold it open, if it's a newspaper, it'll be a lot bigger than a tabloid, the other size. Two examples would be a Lightner and Herald. So really it's just the shape and the size that determines if it's a broadsheet or a tabloid. Nameplates and mastheads, those, what we would call a logo for almost any other company, they're called nameplates and mastheads for newspapers. Those are examples of some current newspapers. Know that when you do your own periodical, you're going to have to come up with your own. Section pages, those are sections that sometimes can be taken out of a newspaper. You get a sports section, you have a Sunday comics. Sometimes they can also just be pages, but usually if they go in depth, especially on Sunday, there'll be whole sections of the paper. Style book. What you need to know about style book is that the majority of papers in the nation use the AP style book. Style books are really just a way that newspapers use to format to make sure that they say something always the same. If you're talking about COVID, COVID is now spelled all caps, and that's the AP style. It says that's the way it's supposed to be. If you're talking about the United States, the actual way you want to punctuate it is U period S period. You don't usually put the A period. Again, those are AP style rules. If you're writing an essay, you should be following Chicago style rules. But in newspapers, it is a little different. The next thing are production terms, and they come from trucks. And what a truck is, normally you lay out a page one page at a time. But if it goes over a page, it's called a double truck. There's a double truck where the artwork, if you look at that picture down below where it says Capture Life, the art is definitely going over 2 pages. See how the middle of the page is a much bigger gap? That would be where the fold of the newspaper, or in this case magazine, goes. If it's a true double truck, then it means the artwork is actually printed on one page. Looks like that too. That will only happen if it's dead in the center and there'll be staples going down it, or maybe on the outside. That's the only time you get true double trucks in periodicals. Other jargon you need to know. Headline, every article in a story gets a headline. It would be what you would call a title in most things. A lot of articles have subheads. Now, the headline should tell you about the story. Subhead will give you more details about the story. You should only need a headline. That's why every story has to have a headline. But if you have a jump head, that tells the reader, a subhead, I'm sorry, it tells the reader a little more information. A jump head means if you start a story on one page and it goes to another page, you're going to have a jump head. It may only be a couple words. Sometimes it is a full sentence. But you at least have to have something at the bottom of the page that'll say, like, see whatever the story title is on page, whatever the page is. So make sure you remember those things when you're laying out your periodical. A blurb or a tease, these are brief paragraphs or other things that just gives you a little information that's in of a story that's going to be inside. And I will show that when we get to some of our examples. Skyboxes is when you have headlines or little stories that tell what's going to be also in the story. It's usually above the nameplate. I don't have an example of that here, but you can definitely see skyboxes other places. Rails are when the exact same thing, the teasers or blurbs are in the paper, but they run down the side of the page. And I do have an example of that. And then body copy. Body is like the whole rest of the story. So if you think of a story as like a person, you have the headline, that's always on the top, and then you have the body. Here's some examples with everything like pointed out. Here's a recent Pony Express issue. The nameplate, see, that's the name that's at the top of the page. It's up there. Where it says BMR is music, that's headline. That would all we really need to say to get people to know that they want to read that story or not. That obviously it's a story about music. But our subhead tells us more information. What's the story actually going to be about? National title, just part of the story about BMR. So they're going to talk about national title and probably more things. Bylines tells you who wrote the story. It's the credit. Now you have two things there. You have a byline top and a byline bottom. It tells you the person who wrote it and what their title is. This person's the editor. When you are looking through the style sheets, when you're making your own periodical, those things will be spelled out. The body is the rest of the story. Now, if you look on the left side, where it talks about the name plate or masthead, you have all the tease copy that's running down the side on the rail. If it was actually a skybox format, which one of the templates is like that, you'll see that the teases are actually above the nameplate. There's also, we have jargon for the copy. You also have jargon for all the photo elements. There's a photo kicker, and a kicker really is just a fancy name for a headline for just a photo. If the photo's by itself, it may get a kicker. Doesn't necessarily have to. You should always have a cut line under every picture in a newspaper, and your newsletters count as newsletters. So basically, this is an explanation why you're having the photo in the publication. Photo credit identifies who took the photo. You may not know who took the photo in some of your stories, so you don't have to always have a photo credit. You also don't have to always have a photo kicker, but you should always have a photo cut line someplace in there. And then this isn't really a photo jargon, but I put it here because it'll go with my example. You have pull quotes. And what those are is that's another graphic element that will help you make your work look a little nicer. So you're taking a quote out of a page, and it should make the design better. So here's some examples of the photo elements. The words pep rally is the kicker. You have who's the photo by, and that's the photo credit. And then you have a long cut line explaining all those things and all those people in the cut line. Newspapers, the more names you get in it, usually the better they sell. And then here's some other things that you need to know. I didn't actually put drop cat, but a drop cat, you should know that from like L elements. It's just pulling out a letter, and it helps it look a little nicer. You have the pull quote there, and then it's broken down to 3 parts. In your style sheets, you're going to have quote copy style, you're going to have quote name, and quote attribute. So if you want to make your layout look good, you don't want to have a lot of you don't want it to be text, text, text. If it is text, 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 the reader usually gets a little bored with the design. So what you want to do is put a lot of graphic elements. Pictures count as graphic elements. Headlines count as graphic elements. Pull quotes count as graphic elements. Basically everything except body copy counts as a graphic element. And the more things you have in there, the better it looks. And if you're not sure how to work that, or how to understand how to make your design look good, you just ask me about the dollar bill test, and I will show that to you in class. So I hope you learned a little about your jargon for periodicals in this video, and make sure you do the example so you can really learn it. Thanks.